your life longer.
Welcome back. With your news, I am Marisol Amaya. Belize Electricity Limited, BEL, has notified the Public Utilities Commission, PUC, of a significant shortfall of power generation expected within the next 12 months. The designation speaks to an expected energy shortfall for more than 2 months in the one-year period that would lead to a power outage of more than 4 hours per customer. In his letter dated November 8, BEL CEO John Mencia cites a section of the law that authorizes the PUC to declare that such an emergency situation exists once the government gives its approval. When that is done, they will be able to begin the process for the procurement of additional energy capacity. In a 3-page analysis, Mencias demonstrates that peak electricity demand in the next year is expected to exceed available generation capacity, and this, therefore, warrants the procurement of additional generation services beyond what currently exists or will realistically exist. Mencias points to energy shortfalls the company experienced in 2019, 2023, and 2024 due to several factors. Today, Prime Minister Jan Bersenio explained that Mencias raised the matter in previous discussions.
As we've had many discussions on this, and he has pointed out that under the Act that we can declare an emergency so we could quickly get people or investors to sign up for energy, and he believes that if he does that, by the end of next year, he could be able to have at least 60 or 80 megawatts. I don't know the entire details. Also, I need to remind you is that we've had a discussion with a group of Belizeans who have partnered with an outside group that have access to bring in a ship for 80 megawatts. Now, for that 80 ship of megawatts to come into Belize and to be able to provide energy, especially during the times when we'll need it, probably in April, we need to be able to sign a contract with them. To do that, you have to declare an emergency. All things were equal. There may not be a shortage in April, May. We are doing everything possible to put everything in place to avoid that. And so, when I was at the inauguration of the new president, Sheinbaum, in Mexico, I met with the new Minister of Energy. It was our first day at the in the office in the morning, along with officials from CFE. And so we are at the point now, we proposed the ship, because the ship is 80 megawatts, we cannot use 80 megawatts. The idea is that we use what we need, and then the rest we can sell it on to Mexico. So now the negotiations are starting. They finally put their team together. We have our team made up of from Finance, Ministry of Energy, BL, and PUC to meet with the officials in Mexico. So it's a number of reasons why that is just, again, forward planning. We don't want to wait till the house is burned to try to do anything about it.
BEL is asking the PUC to obtain approval from the government for the emergency declaration by November 15 so that they can begin the process for energy generation procurement. BEL's peak demand forecasted for 2025 is 139.8 megawatts expected in June. BEL is forecasting that the supply from Mexico's CFE will likely decline throughout the warmer months in 2025. He attributes those CFE challenges to ongoing delays in generation expansion in the Yucatan. The PM says they have already started the processes for the call for proposals.
Today we are setting up the RFP regulations for the call for proposals for energy, and we have to lay it on the table before it becomes law. And so once that becomes law, then others then can come in, but it's a longer process. So we're trying to shortcut it quickly so we can start to put things in place so that by the end of next year we can have enough energy to be able to keep us going and forward.
It so happens that there was a blackout during today's House meeting. The power outage impacted the majority of the country except the northern districts. According to the Prime Minister, he was informed it had to do with issues at the Moyehon Dam. The Senate met on Monday and debated the proposed appointment for 4 months of Deputy Auditor General Maria Rodriguez as acting Auditor General. Notably, the motion has now been added to one of the few that has been stopped in its tracks by the 13-member Senate. Before that occurred, Honorable Amon Courtney, leader of government business, implored the senators to approve the bill, saying it is more important to have someone in the position doing the work rather than continuing with the status quo.
The period of 4 months has to do with, as I understand it, completing the process for the advertising and interviewing and hopeful recommendation of a person to be appointed the Auditor General. My appeal to this Honorable Senate, Madam President, is to reflect soberly on whether or not we prefer to continue for 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, 1 month, 4 months without an Auditor General in an acting position. Is that better than having an acting Auditor General? If the social partners and the opposition, as they have articulated, are not supporting the motion, then the motion will fail, and it means that we will have no Auditor General. I do not believe, with respect, that that is in the interest of the Belizean people. All the criticisms that have been levied are taken on board. I am not standing here to dispute them. What I will say is the importance that is attached to this constitutional office. The fact that the Constitution was amended to allow for an acting Auditor General to be appointed should be borne in mind, and to say where the public interest lies. Is it in having an acting Auditor General on a short-term basis so that we can complete the process with making a formal appointment, or is it better to have the office without someone acting in the interim? I respectfully urge my colleagues to err on the side of the accountability, which everyone accepts is absolutely needed. And I repeat, the criticisms of the state of affairs are well made, and I will not stand here and seek to dispute them.
UDP Senator Antonio Herrera indicated that 4 months is insignificant in the scheme of things and therefore rejected the motion, whereas Business Senator Kevin Herrera had significant issues with the resolution. After canvassing the positions of the social partner senators and the UDP senators during the Committee of the Whole Senate, Courtney chose not to even bring back the motion for a vote. Prime Minister John Bresenio was asked what happens now.
I think that's a question you need to ask those senators that voted against it. I think I can't understand their logic. It's a flawed logic. The point is that we don't have an Auditor General. We wanted to appoint one, a temporary one, whilst we advertise and have people to come in and apply for that post. Looking at either in-house or outside of the service. And we do recognize also that this is a very specialized skill, and that we may need to have to pay them more than what the service pays. I think that you need to ask the geniuses of those that voted against that, because then we're without an Auditor General and the work of the government continues.
I think one of the main points of contention was the 4-month period. I mean, why was that even in discussion in the first place?
Sorry?
The 4 months, it was only for 4 months. Why just 4 months?
They wanted it for 2 years. I mean, we believe that in 4 months we've already advertised. We felt that it was enough time. If we would have put a year, they would tell us, well, a year is too long. We're trying to have just the amount of time necessary to be able to advertise and interview and get somebody proper and fit for the post of Auditor General.
Senator Perry pointed out that that was the same reason that Ms. Bradley's contract was extended, and during that time period, you guys were still unable to find a replacement.
And?
Well, what's the guarantee that after the 4 months one would have been found?
There's only one way to find out.
So now what happens? You try to put a rush on it?
Absolutely not. We're going to go through the 4-month period, and when we find an Auditor General that's adequate, then we will proceed.
In police news, at around 4 p.m. on Monday, a gruesome discovery was made in a cane field just outside San Lazaro Orange Walk. The body of 48-year-old Julio Carrillo, a resident of said village, was found with multiple stab wounds. According to the victim's brother, Eladio Carrillo, the family last saw Julio 4 days before the incident. Villagers have said they saw him on Sunday. Eladio said the family understands that Julio was with 2 other men and all 3 were drunk. He says he has no proof but feels they may have had something to do with his brother's murder. He said Julio caused no issues other than to be verbally aggressive when he would become intoxicated, but said that's no reason to end someone's life. The family wants justice. In other news, the Prime Minister John Bersenio today weighed in on the re-election of Donald Trump to a second term as United States President starting in 2025. The President-elect campaigned on a platform of mass deportations, and the Prime Minister today was asked his opinion of mass deportations of Belizeans.
Your thoughts on his mass deportation policies? Trouble for Belizeans?
Absolutely not. We need workers. So if they bring back Belizeans to Belize, we need workers. But again, the American people, in their wisdom, decided to vote for a man that says that he's going to do mass deportations. We may not agree with the voters, but we have to respect the wishes of the voters.
After the break, emergency management authorities monitor an area of disturbance in Western Caribbean. Stay with us. Service of Belize is monitoring an area of disturbance in the Western Caribbean that has the potential to develop into a tropical cyclone. In the next 2 days, it has a medium chance of development. Those chances go up to high within the next 7 days. It could become a tropical storm or hurricane potentially by the end of the week. Current models indicate it could head in the direction of northern Yucatan or western Cuba by next week. The National Meteorological Service and NEMO intend to hold a press conference on Thursday. At today's House meeting at the George Price Center in Belmopan, Prime Minister John Bresenio delivered a minister's address that sounded a lot like a report card of his administration's time in office thus far, a report card issued by the PUP itself. Bresenio praised his government's accomplishments and said even regional leaders have taken note.
We took this on as a serious challenge to this government, to this country, and we renegotiated that debt. We grew the economy, we paid off some debt that today, thanks to the People's United Party government, the debt to GDP is at 64%. It has gone from 64 to 63%. Unprecedented. No country in the world has ever done something like this, Madam Speaker. And again, I don't want to go into too much statistics, Madam Speaker, because the people in the region, in CARICOM, in SICA, in Central America, in Mexico, and even the United States all recognize the tremendous work that we have been doing for our country, and that the many of our people, and yet, Madam Speaker, we still recognize that despite all of the hard work that we've done, all the successes that we've done, reducing the poverty rate, we still recognize that our people are still struggling to get out of poverty, and this government, the People's United Party government, finds that unacceptable. So yes, inflation is falling, but not fast enough. The cost of living will go down, but not quickly enough. So as we pass our 4th-year benchmark, I'm proud of what we've been able to accomplish with the support and the confidence of the Belizean people.
The PM's self-report segued into the topic of the upcoming general elections, and once more, he affirmed that elections will be held in 2025. He said his party is once again counting on the support of Belizeans.
We recommit our every resource to ensuring that we continue to find ways to address the challenges we all face, including global inflation and the resultant cost of living. Madam Speaker, once again, on behalf of our party, the People's United Party, I sincerely thank all Belizeans for the awesome responsibility you have entrusted on us. And I promise we will never take you for granted, and we will never betray your confidence. As we all know, 2025 is an election year, and we will be once again asking the Belizean people for their support for us to continue to build a Belize where everybody for win. We have the political will, Madam Speaker, and with the guidance of our Creator and the support of the Belizean people, we will find a way. Thank you.
In an interview during a break at the House meeting, the Prime Minister said the opposition is getting excited over nothing because the supplementary line item titled General Election tabled at the last House meeting is not for that, but actually for the Toledo East by-election that happened earlier this year.
people get excited over nothing. Basically, the 300,000. Remember, we had a by-election in July, and we did not present a supplementary budget to be able to pay for it. So we had to use other resources. So we're paying back the monies from what we did. I think we advanced monies to elections and boundaries, and now we're replacing the monies that was used for the elections and for the monies that were used for the by-election. And I know the UDP wants us to get them out of their misery by calling an election so that then they could try to decide who is going to be the next leader. But we are going to call elections when we believe it's the right time. I said it's going to be in 2025. There's still a lot of work, as I pointed out in my presentation, thanking the BJP for that awesome mandate that they gave us, and it's something that we take very seriously. We've done a lot, but there's a lot more work to do. And when we're saying that we have reduced poverty by half, that does not mean that everybody rich. We still have a long way to go, and that's the case that we're trying to do. And we're finding ways to fight inflation in many different ways. Many of the items that people are buying don't pay taxes. That comes from abroad, and so the prices go up. The retailers have to raise their prices. So what do? We try to see income tax, education, NHI, house lots, mortgages, all this bring a little bit of money, from all over, and then continue to push to grow the economy, continue to create opportunities for Belizeans and encourage people to start their own businesses.
The government of Belize has been cited by the U.S. for the lack of presentation of financial statements starting from 2015. It's also something that the Public Accounts Committee has complained about, and so has the former Auditor General, as the reports are required for them to do their work of conducting audits on the different government departments and ministries. The reports are prepared by the Office of the Accountant General. At Monday's Senate meeting, Minister of State Chris Koyi shared that they enlisted the support of the IMF to get the financial statements completed.
As it relates to the audit itself in terms of the accounts, the government actually secured the assistance of the IMF to assist in the preparation of the financial statements. However, again, as far as I understand, the financial statements from 2014, 2015, 2016 are missing information. So because that information is missing, it cannot be finalized. And because it cannot be finalized, it cannot be audited with a clean opinion. So if it is to move forward, it will end up having to be qualified and having qualified statements. That, I think, whether we like it or not, that might well be what ultimately will have to happen. That the statements from 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018 to present will all have to be qualified in order that those financial statements are finalized. Once that is finalized, then the audits can be completed. But that's, as far as I understand, what is the hold up on those audits. It's going back nearly a decade, where documents, information, data is missing in order to have an unqualified opinion on those financial statements.
Means that an independent auditor, after a review, will indicate that they cannot give a completely clean report because they found some issues or exceptions, in this case, that missing information. After the break, the Prime Minister speaks about the rationale behind the $1 million Latches raffle. Stay tuned.
paper, but for us, it's our lives.
The Belize Government Lotteries Limited recently announced its $1 raffle with the drawing date set for next month. The raffle was launched to commemorate the first year of the government-owned company. Today, the Prime Minister was asked if this is the most prudent action.
Bolido is a game of statistics, a game of chance. So looking at the statistics, the people at the Bolido/lottery believe that we can create enough hype to be able to sell more than $1 million and to make money out of it. Imagine paying, I think it's $10? $5. Imagine you paying $5, you could potentially win $1 million or $500,000 or 100,000, depends on how many people win that. For $5, people are going to go for it. I mean, I must confess, in the United States, sometimes I buy the Mega Bingo, or Powerball, whatever you call it. I pay me $2, and you know what? I come put it in my pocket. I never check back if I win. Maybe I don't win, and I don't know. But here in Belize, so Belizeans know about it, so I'm sure that a lot of people probably don't buy your number no pounds.
The Prime Minister says he himself does not purchase lottery. The People's Constitution Commission was given a mandate to complete consultations and produce a report for the Prime Minister with recommendations to amend the Constitution. This work was to be completed in 18 months. They received a 6-month extension, and today Cabinet announced that they are getting another 6-month extension to finalize their report. They will therefore be constituted until May 17, 2025. The House of Representatives today passed the bill to raise the age of marriage to 18 years. The movement was born last year when the matter was debated by the Youth Parliament. Today outside the George Price Center for Development, Honorable Dolores Balderramos Garcia, Minister of Human Development, praised the youths for raising the issue.
We have only carried forward what they presented to us a year ago in November. And it was a robust discussion and debate in Parliament, for the Youth Parliament. Well, like I said, they call it Children's Parliament, but I prefer to say youth, you know. This is all about them. And big kudos to every single one of the youth parliamentarians today. For example, joining us in the House are young lady Victoria and also Carlos, and one was the leader of the opposition and the other one was the member for Orange Walk South. So that it was a youth parliament that brought the topic of ending child marriage in terms of what our law says. At the moment, before we pass the legislation today, it is that you can get married, yes, at 18, but also with parental consent at 16. Now, I don't believe that should happen, you know. And like I say, they have made the case. As a matter of fact, and I will say it in the House, you know, later this afternoon, some of the youth parliamentarians in the opposition even asked for the age of marriage to be raised to 21, because marriage really is a contract. And somebody under 18 shouldn't be allowed to sign a contract and enter into something that is so serious.
A few of the members of last year's Youth Parliament were in attendance. Two of them, junior college students from the North, told the media why they thought it was an important movement.
Well, coming into a marriage at an early age can cause different situations, possibly girls dropping out of school, even the males dropping out of schools. Many people think that it only affects the females. No, it also affects the males. Yes.
And as a young woman, because we do know that a lot of young women are preyed upon by older males as well, how significant was it that you are part of this movement to protect children that come after you?
Well, it was quite significant because I am proud to say that my voice is being heard. Like, we thought it was just for sakes, but we're here today.
For me, this issue is really impactful to see the brilliant minds that we had last year, and it's very inspiring because we are the future generation of Belize, and when we heard about this bill, we never knew nothing about it. And when we were doing the research, they barely had limited information, but thanks to this movement that we did, recently I did an essay about it, and I really was inspired by looking at the new research that they had this year.
Wow.
And I'm really inspired because the little impact that we did is already changing a movement, and that is what I like to see when it comes to youth. And just like I say, we are the future of Belize, and if we could do with this one little thing, we could change several things about our country. And I really like to say to even youths to think about what they want to help benefit their country as well.
Balderramos also noted that though the issue was raised by the Youth Parliament, many community leaders have since supported the movement. She added that other countries in the region have started to do the same and that Belize is moving in the right direction.
UNICEF supported, our National Commission for Families and Children supported, and of course our special envoy, our chair lady of the National Women's Commission. This was really a huge joint effort that received a lot of support, widespread support, even from many of the church leaders. Well, many countries have already raised the age to 18. Some have not yet. I can't tell you the exact ones, but we are definitely moving in the right direction.
Okay.
We're definitely going in the right direction. So I'm so pleased today.
The sister island state of Cuba has had terrible and devastating experiences of late as a result of electrical grid failure following natural disasters. Hurricane Rafael this past weekend came behind a widespread loss of power, and before that there was Hurricane Oscar, which made landfall on October 20 in eastern Cuba, damaging over 1,000 homes. Here in Belize, former Prime Ministers Said Musa and Dean Barrow have come together to support an appeal for assistance to Cuba. The duo is cognizant that because of Cuba's circumstances and the illegal and unjustified decades-long U.S. economic embargo, Cuba will have a difficulty guaranteeing a reliable supply of electricity for its people. Nonetheless, the two former PMs agree that Belize must do whatever it can to alleviate, even if for a day, the suffering of Cuban families. They call on Belizeans to come together and send material supplies to the island. An effort to send a shipment to Cuba is being organized by attorney Ardel Sabido and Ambassador Assad Showman. Among the items being collected are small generators, solar panels, and supplies for hospitals and centers for the handicapped. They are also sending food supplies, medicine, construction supplies, and other goods. They're asking for cash or in-kind donations. Online transfers can be made to Atlantic Bank account 211-005-6145 and Heritage Bank account 911-2059, opened for this purpose under Cuba Humanitarian Disaster Fund. Material donations can be delivered to Mel's Chiropractic Healing and Therapy at the corner of Hopkins and 1st Street in Kings Park, Belize City. For more information on delivery, you can call 607-9051 during normal working hours. And police are investigating an altercation on Pickstock Street in Belize City, which resulted in a man being stabbed. The incident occurred just before 3 on Monday afternoon. Reports are that 27-year-old Charles Foreman and 23-year-old Andrew Holder were socializing on nearby Rayburn's Alley when they got into an altercation. Holder allegedly stabbed Foreman, who was transported to the KHMH for treatment. Police are investigating. And with that, we have come to the end of our newscast. Our beat can be viewed on this station later tonight at 9 and again tomorrow at midday. Join us again tomorrow for another news broadcast. I am Marisol Amaya. Have a safe and enjoyable evening.